It's actually so annoying how dull it is today because this is not a bad spot to sit in. Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing I Am Watching You by Teresa Driscoll. I got this book at the same time that I got Next Girl to Die, and I just read them one after the other. I actually very nearly read this book in a day, but because I ended up I started it on Boxing Day and I read it for about 4 hours and I got like a good chunk of the way through. I think I read 220 pages. There's about 287, I think. I got like 220 pages into it and I would have read it all if I hadn't gone out that night, but I did, so I had to read it the next day. But it was all still pretty fresh in my mind, so yeah, and I just finished it the other day, 2 days ago. I was a little bit wary going into this book for some reason, probably because I just finished reading Next Girl to Die and I wasn't a massive fan of it. Whereas with I Am Watching You, right from the start, I was kind of intrigued. So I was a bit nervous, but actually I had nothing to be worried about. It was a good book. I think I gave it 5 out of 5. The more I think about it though, I'm kind of wishing maybe I took it down to a 4. But to be honest, I'd probably give like a 4.5 out of 5. So we might as well just round that up and give it a 5. I like the characters. I actually also really liked that, again, different chapters were told from like different perspectives. But I also really liked, a lot of people, I read this in reviews, that a lot of people didn't like the fact that our main character, Ella, her chapters are told from a first person perspective. Whereas all the other characters, bar one, which is called the Watcher, which is basically the stalker, all the other characters are told from third person. But I actually really like that because I feel like it helped you to connect with Ella a lot more than maybe the other characters. Although in a way, in the end though, I kind of found that I wasn't that bothered about Ella's chapter so much. But anyway, I'll read the back to you so you can make your own mind up if you think this book is for you. A missing girl, a tormented witness, a web of lies, and someone is watching. When Ella Longfield overhears 2 attractive young men flirting with teenage girls on a train, she thinks nothing of it until she realises they are fresh out of prison, and her maternal instinct is put on high alert. But just as she's decided to call for help, something stops her. The next day she wakes up to the news that one of the girls, beautiful green-eyed Anna Ballard, has disappeared. A year later, Anna is still missing. Ella is racked with guilt over what she failed to do, and she's not the only one who can't forget. Someone is sending her threatening letters that make her fear for her life. Then an anniversary appeal reveals that Anna's friends and family might have something to hide. Anna's best friend Sarah hasn't been telling the whole truth about what really happened that night, and her parents have been keeping secrets of their own. Someone knows where Anna is, and they're not telling, but they are watching Ella. I've just had a few thoughts come into my head and I realised maybe I do want to change my review from a 5 to a 4. Okay, so Ella, our main character, it starts with her. She's on a train journey, she's going to a conference, she's a florist, and she's going to a conference, which who knew that florists went to conferences, but apparently they do. And she's like sitting near these 2 lovely girls. I think they're 16, give me 17, no they're 16. On a train, they're from Cornwall and they're going to London for a trip, and they're going to see Les Mis and they're going to just have a good girly weekend. I think it's a treat from their parents for doing well in their GCSEs. And so while they're on the train, these 2 men get on carrying plastic bin bags, and they sit down near the girls, and then they kind of start talking to the girls, and then they sit down with the girls and they all just get chatting and blah blah blah. And of course Ella is sitting listening, which, to be honest, I can believe that. I am so guilty of listening to other people's conversations in public. I do it quite a lot. Not quite a lot, but I will do it. I have seen me doing that. I'm just nosy. I'm relatively nosy. And she understands that they've just got out of prison, and they're basically just talking to the girls. And to begin with, they're just being quite friendly, saying like, what you doing, where are you going, like kind of thing, what's your plans, what's your weekend plans. They kind of get into it, and then they're kind of recommending this club to them to go at, and they're kind of saying like, I can't remember what else is. They're giving them advice basically, but then they end up saying, actually, we can take you to this club and have a night out, which I'm not being funny. When 16-year-olds get into a club, I know what it's like around here. The ideas all the time, and we're 22, 23. I'm 23. I'm like 23, and I still got ID going in places. It's like, are they not very strict in London? Is there a few places that aren't strict? I suppose underage drinking is a thing, so whatever. So Ella is now sitting here concerned, and she goes on about how she would love to just phone the girls' mothers, and she feels like, she makes it seem as if she could get in contact with them. Something to do with, because she knows they're from Cornwall and one of them's from a farm, she's thinking like, oh, it wouldn't be hard to like phone up like an information bit and get the number for a farm. But I feel like that's a little bit far-fetched. Just a tad. Unless you had the name of that farm, I doubt you would very well find it. Unless you knew the lass's surnames, or if they'd said their surnames, then maybe, yeah, well, maybe it was that. But I don't know, I just feel part of the premise of the story is the fact that Ella doesn't speak up. But at the end of the day, what is she expected to do? If I overheard something like that at a train, I'd be minding my own business. And that's what Ella's kind of struggling with. She can't decide if she should mind her own business or get involved. Then she decides she is going to get involved because Sarah, one of the girls, keeps going to the like the food, I'm gonna call it food cart, a kind of buffet thing, which, to be honest, is that not one of those things that the little girls and boys will like wheel up and down the train, like in Harry Potter, the little woman with her trolley? Do they not all I don't think they constantly wheel up and down. Does it kind of rest somewhere and then you go and find them if you want something from it? But basically Sarah and one of the boys from prison called Anthony keep getting up and going to like the buffet cart and coming back, and at one point Ella decides she's going to go up, follow them, kind of linger back, and then ask Sarah for some help with, I don't know if it's like, I don't know if she's going to like ask her for some help with her phone or something along the lines, and she's going to give her a word of caution to stay away from those boys because they're trouble. No, what turn is to play my case, no or best to send me in outer space, and my finger, I'll be true, no diamond gold, that ain't gonna help me now, I'm trouble, yeah, trouble now, I'm trouble. I don't know the whole rest of that song. But then our plan fails, but Ella then heads off to meet them, and along the way she overhears Sarah and Anthony shagging in the toilet. Yep, that happened. For those of you who are not from the UK, shagging means having sex. So that happens, so that kind of makes her mind up. She automatically takes on a kind of, what I say, prudish attitude, and she thinks, oh, these girls are mature enough, they can look after themselves. So she collects her belongings and she moves to a different part of the train, deciding that she's not going to get involved. Which, to be practically honest, I feel like I would do the same. If you're watching two young girls strike up a conversation with somebody else, and if neither of them looked uncomfortable, would you get involved? I mean, I don't know. It's one of those situations where it's like, what would you do in that situation? But looking back, you could think, oh yeah, I would have done things differently. But in the moment, you just let it go. Let it go, let it go. The cold never bothered me anyway. So then flash forward a little bit, Ella's at her conference in a hotel room. She turns on the news, and what does she see? A big picture of Anna flashed up on the screen. She gone. She's missing. Where oh where is Anna? Anna. Ooh. And now Ella feels extremely guilty. Extremely guilty. As you would, though. You kind of would. And then you would wish that you'd done something. So Ella's feeling extremely guilty that Anna is now missing. She goes to the police and explains what she knows, that she saw the two ex-cons get on the train, sit with the girls, so she tells them about that. Flash forward a year later, Anna is still missing. And you know what that means when people have been missing for that length of time. Either they don't want to be found, or they did. Or by some slim chance they could be locked up somewhere, held against their will. But I feel like these days it's quite rare, that, isn't it? Ella's name was revealed to the press as this witness, and we're not sure how the leak happened. If it was from the police denied it, but I suppose these days it maybe can't be hard. It was all to do with the fact, I think, that they knew it was a witness was going to a conference, and they were able to work out that there was only 2 people on that train going from Devon that day, and only one of them was a florist, blah blah blah. And poor Ella starts getting a lot of hate, which actually really, really irritated me. It really, actually, I know this is not real, but it annoyed me so much. Like, at least she came forward and said what she knew, right? But everybody was hating on her and judging her, and the girl's parents were hating on her and judging her for not speaking up and doing something about it. But at the end of the day, you have another day older. What is she supposed to do? Like, it ain't her responsibility to look after these kids. If the parents were that concerned, they should have went with them. They should have had a chaperone. Some of that's kind of revealed that 3 other friends, Anna's older sister called Jenny, and her 2 friends, Tim and Paul, were actually supposed to be going with them. Paul ended up he dropped out first because he was going to Cyprus with his family. Tim ended up going to Scotland with his family, or himself, or was it a trip? I can't remember what the reason was, but he ended up going to Scotland, and Jenny ended up getting tickets to go to a concert with her then boyfriend. So the 3 of them bailed, and the 2 girls decided they were just going to keep going themselves. The parents, Anna's mum was very reserved about them going, but the dad kind of talked them into it. The dad was more keen for them to go when he knew there was going to be 5 of them, but now there was only 2. He kind of wanted to change his mind, but he let them go anyway. That's quite an important detail to the story. But I just find it quite annoying for poor Ella that her life is basically being wrecked. Not wrecked, but she's having folk judge her for not speaking up. But at the end of the day, would you? Would you? Like, So you can't just expect someone else to basically look after your kids for you. I swear to God. We then get a few chapters. We have the witness, so that's Ella. We have the father, which is Henry, that's Anna's dad. We have the friend, which is Sarah, chapters from Sarah's perspective. And we have the private investigator, which is Matthew. And Matthew gets involved when Ella starts receiving hate mail, or like she starts receiving postcards from somebody basically calling her out and it's being a bit kind of threatening, quite stalkerish, bit creepy. The first 2 are okay, but then they get worse. So she speaks to the private investigator to look into these because she thinks it's Anna's mum that's sending them. I quite like Matthew. Matthew might actually have been my favourite character in this. If it was told entirely from Matthew, I maybe would have preferred it a wee bit. But at the end of the day, it wasn't too bad. At the end of the day, I'm another day older. I was pretty invested in this. I was enjoying it. The only thing I hated at times were, though, every chapter just seemed to end on a cliffhanger. Like, something would be said where a character would be like, I have something I need to tell you about that night. And then the chapter would end and then it would move on to like somebody else, and then a few chapters later you finally figured out what it was. But you weren't getting it as the actual conversation of what they were saying. It was more like told then in flashbacks of like, oh yeah, so this is what they ended up telling me. This is what I said. This is what we did about it. We stayed quiet. We told the police, blah, blah, blah. The whole premise of several characters having something to hide was a bit weak, I would say. Sarah's thing is that, and the thing is that bugs me with Sarah, she obviously lies to the police about that night because her and Anna got separated. She just says that they'd arranged to meet after they went to this club with the 2 ex-cons. They'd arranged that at 2 o'clock they were going to meet, get a taxi back to the hotel, and they'd be fine. But by about midnight, Anna's ready to go home. She says she doesn't really feel safe here. She's had too much to drink. Sarah's telling her not to be a baby. Just go home early then. I'll meet you back at the hotel. And that's the end of that. So I felt like, I'm not really sure, maybe I just forgot, but what was Sarah's reasoning for not wanting to tell the police the truth? Because the whole time, the police have been focusing on these cons, ex-cons, when quite potentially someone else could be behind it all. The perpetrator, the suspect. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I do feel like a lot of this book was kind of repetitive a wee bit. I did find a lot of Ella's chapters were just kind of the same thing over and over again. They were becoming a little bit repetitive. Most characters, they weren't really divulging into what their issues were until like later on a bit, and why they were lying or what they lied about. And I just feel like with Sarah, part of it was because I think, was it she didn't want to believe in something. It's so hard to talk about this without giving away any spoilers, but she basically just didn't want to incriminate or think badly of, I think, was it someone else, or she didn't want to get them involved. It was something stupid like that. But at the end of the day, why could she not have just told them that she got separated from her and that, and then maybe they'd have been able to work things out a bit better? I don't know. I also believe that surely there would have been more CCTV that the police could have looked into to see when Anna left the club. The dad's kind of secret was a bit weak. And to be honest, the more I think about it, I'm not even sure if it was properly explained. Like, why was he in London that night? Can't even really remember. Some things maybe just weren't explained that well. But I did definitely prefer the chapters told from the perspective of the private investigator. They were a bit more exciting. You're getting an insight to the police and what they were doing. So that was quite interesting. I do love a kind of detective story told from the perspective of somebody, a man of the law, maybe than just a civilian talking about it, unless that civilian is genuinely trying to solve the crime themselves. But I don't know, when it comes, I've got kind of mixed feelings of what I prefer with mystery. I do love a good mystery told from the perspective of like a detective, but I also do love books told from the perspective of like a civilian or just a normal person, or maybe a friend of a victim, or a friend, or just somebody that's kind of connected to a crime. I read 220 pages in the first sitting, and yeah, not a lot really did happen. I mean, enough happened explaining everything, but then maybe it was quite slow paced in the beginning, but I didn't notice because I was flying through it. So then things started to kind of get a little bit more juicy, and we have a new suspect thrown into the mix, and it's somebody we were not suspecting. And I completely agree with a review that I read online that said it was a little disheartening that one of these suspects that was kind of eventually thrown in, there was no real kind of information or tidbits along the way that would make you suspect this person. There was nothing at all. Nothing. They were mentioned, they were in several scenes, and I kind of get that, because if you don't really throw in enough little kind of things along the way that will make somebody question a character or think, I bet you it's you, you can't really pick up on that person. How are you meant to solve the mystery? So I totally get what they mean by that. Like, there is no way you could solve that mystery if there's no tidbits of information along the way that makes it easy to solve. Here he comes. Oh, what's the matter? Do you want to walk? I promise we'll go for a walk soon, Oscar. He's lying on my hand. Get your butt off my hand! He's gone again. So I kind of agree with that, yeah, if one of your suspects ends up being somebody that you've not suspected at all, and there's never been any information or any sort of clue, and the more I think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, why did they do what they did to Anna? Spoiler. This is a spoiler. I will put up a spoiler warning because I have to talk about this. I really have to. So, spoiler warning, I will put up a timestamp of when the spoiler stops for when you want to skip it, if you want to skip it, if you actually care about this book. This is a massive spoiler, I'm just going to throw this out there. But the killer ends up being one of Anna's friends, Tim, who was supposed to go on this trip but ended up going to Scotland, right? And his whole kind of reason is he's obsessed with Anna. He loves Anna. He's always watching her. He's always taking photographs of her. No one else can have her. And it's like, Okay, but why did you not want to go on the trip? Like, he's there, because that's what happens. Ella sees him in a photograph, recognizes him, and says he was on the train that day. And Anna's mum is like, that's not possible. He was in Scotland. And Ella's like, no, I'm telling you, he was on the train that day. So why would he not just go on the trip anyway? He could have went and chaperoned the 3 girls. Then, so that's fair enough if he wanted to surprise her or whatever. But then, when Anna does see him outside the club, and he's acting like, what are you doing out here? And come with me, I'll take you back to my dad's flat that my deceased father left to me in his will. Something to do with it's a flat that he left him that he's supposed to rent out to people to make money so that he can fund college or university or whatever. That's fair enough, that's grand. But judging by the decor and the stuff in it, Anna realises, because we do get a chapter told from Anna's perspective, she realises that he's been living there. But then I'm also thinking, but why is he kind of living there? Why is he also living in Cornwall? I don't really know that either, why he's living there. Or is it a base? Oh, I think he used it as a base for like developing his photos and basically putting all his photos there, like his photos of Anna and stuff like that. So he takes Anna there and he goes to phone a taxi for her, or he pretends to phone a taxi for her. Spoiler alert, no he doesn't. And she's just waiting, and then he makes her a coffee and he keeps telling her to drink it. I'm assuming he drugged her with it. They don't specify. And then she says she wants to leave, she wants to get up, she wants to go out, get some fresh air, she wants a glass of water, she stands up, she kind of falls to the floor, and then he strangles her. And I do just feel like, why? What was the point? Was he mad because he saw Anna with one of the ex-cons? Was he mad she was at a club? I mean, she ended up on her own, so you can't possibly tell me it's not like she was leaving with the ex-con or leaving with another boy. So, I don't know, that bugged me. So why? Just why? What was his reasoning? Why? Just why? So I still don't really get that. I mean, I guess it was one of those kind of situations where somebody loves somebody so much they kill them. Fair enough. You do you. I don't know. It was a little bit of a letdown, I guess. Part of me was low-key hoping that Anna was still going to be alive. It was alright being Tim, because it was such a surprise twist. As I say, there was no even like any kind of tidbits of information to just kind of make you question that maybe he was involved somehow. We all thought he was in Scotland, we never really discouraged it. It didn't really make a lot of sense. That's the end of the spoiler, by the way. So then after a kind of little, what I'm going to call a final showdown, it kind of just ends. We have Anna's mother and Ella talking, and that's quite cute. They have like a little moment of Anna's mother apologises for being so cold to her in the past, realises it's not Ella's fault for not intervening, and yeah, the more I think about this, I maybe will drop my rating to a 4 out of 5, because there were a few little things. I read a lot of kind of negative reviews. I don't know, you know what, I actually really enjoyed it more. The little twist ending was actually quite okay. It was quite nice. I just kind of wished it was a little bit more exhilarating, but oh well, could be worse. But yeah, so that is my thoughts on I Am Watching You by Teresa Driscoll. I probably will just give this a 4 out of 5 now. I am starting to feel my voice going. I've probably been shouting that much. But yeah, so that was my review for I Am Watching You. And if you want to read it, let me know your thoughts. So yeah, so I am hoping to start another book. I haven't been reading the past 2 days. I'm hoping to maybe start reading something again. Try and read something quickly just before the new year gets in, because I've been reading so many books in December. I'm actually really proud. I'm hoping I could just kind of squeeze something else in before the end of the year. And then I'll do a December wrap up. And then maybe I'll discuss like all my favourite books of the year. Because I think I have actually read like 26 books. Which I'm actually quite proud of, for me. That's quite impressive. Because I don't normally read. I haven't been reading all that much to begin with. I'd be lucky if I was reading like a book a month kind of thing. So now I feel like stepped up my game in December. But yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you all in my next video. Bye guys.